Welcome to Dark Matter. Please take a moment to subscribe to my channel. Thank you. Hi guys, I really need your help. I've been demonetized on YouTube, so I've moved over to Patreon. The link to my Patreon page is below in the description. Please take a quick look and do subscribe or choose one of the options. It's pretty cheap. It allows me to bring you great content and new videos just like this. The Sledgehammer Killer, Zachary Davis. One of the most horrific acts that a human being can carry out against their fellow humans is murder. It's perplexing enough to imagine the motivation behind an adult killing another adult, but what about when it's a child or teenager committing this violent deed? In today's video, we will take a look at the murder of Melanie Davis and the attempted murder of Josh Davis. Was the killer impaired by a severe mental illness, or was he just pure evil? 10th of August 2012 started just like any other day, but by the following morning Melanie Davis would be dead and her 15-year-old son Zachary would be in police custody. Melanie was an Australian citizen who'd moved to Hendersonville, Tennessee to marry Chris. The couple went on to have two sons. The firstborn was Josh, and then second came along Zachary. They were your average all-American family that lived in a middle-class neighbourhood. Melanie worked as a paralegal, and in her spare time she took part in triathlons. However, in 2007, tragedy struck when Chris died from amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. The death came as a blow to the whole family, but it particularly had an impact on 10-year-old Zachary, who fell into a deep depression. Within just a few months, Zachary would be sent for psychiatric treatment with Dr. Bradley Freeman at the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. Zachary told his psychiatrist that he would very frequently hear disembodied voices. It was evident that he was suffering from some form of mental disease. Nevertheless, Zachary's case was terminated when Melanie stopped bringing her son to his appointments with Dr. Freeman. Throughout his teenage years, Zachary was known to be an outcast by his peers at Station Camp High School. He possessed some bizarre quirks and characteristics. One student recalled how Zachary often refused to speak in his regular voice and almost always responded in a whisper when being spoken to. The same student added that Zachary would wear the same hoodie day in day out. At approximately 9 PM on the 10th of August 2012, 46-year-old Melanie went to bed just like usual. Earlier on in the evening, Melanie, 16-year-old Josh and 15-year-old Zachary had attended a showing of the comedy film The Campaign at the local movie theatre before returning home together. As Melanie drifted off to sleep, she was completely unaware that her youngest son, Zachary, was planning something extremely sinister. When Melanie and Josh were both asleep, Zachary crept into his mother's bedroom. He was armed with a sledgehammer that he had retrieved from the basement. With that sledgehammer, Zachary bludgeoned Melanie in the head over and over again. The medical examiner would later conclude that Melanie suffered at least 8 blows to the head. The blood-splattered teenager then left the bedroom, locking the door behind him, and walked to the games room. In here he poured gasoline and whiskey over the walls and floors and set it alight before fleeing off into the night. Thankfully, Zachary closed the games room door, thus the fire did not spread due to lack of oxygen. Moments later the fire alarm quickly started beeping and Josh awoke from his slumber. Realising that his mother's bedroom door was locked, he broke the door down and was met by an unimaginable scene. Approximately 5 hours later, a Sumner County Sheriff Office deputy found Zachary walking along a 2-lane road, roughly 5 miles from his home off Long Hollow Pike. Zachary was taken in for questioning without incident and readily confessed that he had murdered his mother as she slept. Sheriff Sonny Weatherford said that when he confessed, he had a malevolent smirk on his face. It was April of 2015, and after narrowing the jury down to 7 men and 5 women, Zachary's trial was ready to commence. Zachary was being tried as an adult and was pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. Defense lawyer Randy Lucas and prosecution Sumner County Attorney General Ray Whitley laid out the basis of their arguments in the opening statements. There was a harmony in the house, said Whitley. Zach Davis had planned and intended to kill his mother and brother, and tonight was the night, announced Whitley to the crowded courtroom. Zachary's defense lawyer announced in his opening statement that the jury would see a taped confession of Zachary declaring that even though he admitted to the murder, doesn't mean that he is guilty. Zachary was suffering from an untreated mental illness at the time of the murders, his lawyers argued, and for this reason he shouldn't be held responsible for his actions. The justice system and the jury both grappled with the notion that while Zachary had clearly premeditated his mother's murder, it was also very apparent that he was deeply unwell. The jury and judge did not feel the same, however, and Zach was sentenced to life in prison after a jury deliberated just 3 hours to reach a guilty verdict. A life sentence in Tennessee is a minimum of 60 years, with the possibility of parole after 51 years. Zachary Davis will be in his mid-60s by the time he's eligible to get out of prison.
Did you kill your mother?
Yeah.
You killed your mother. And why did you kill her?
She wasn't taking care of my family.
Meaning you and your brother?
Yeah.
Is that who you mean? And so because she wasn't taking care of you and your family, you decided to kill her. Did you think about discussing it with her instead of killing her?
I didn't think it wouldn't do anything.
You thought it won't do any good to talk to her, so I'll just kill her. When did you decide to kill your mother?
I decided the day I did it.
And the method you chose was what?
Beating her to death.
And you beat her to death with what?
Sledgehammer.
And how many times did you hit her with the sledgehammer?
I don't remember.
About. Did you hit her once, or did you hit her 10 times or 100 times?
I'd say about 20 times.
Was this a 3-pound sledgehammer, 5-pound sledgehammer?
I don't know.
Heavy.
Yeah.
Way bigger than a hammer. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And where did you hit her?
In the head.
Where was she when you did this?
She was in her room.
What was she doing?
She was asleep.
Okay, so your mother was asleep in her room, and you opened the door and went in there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you need to help me understand here. You're standing outside her bedroom door. You've got a sledgehammer in one hand. You've got your hand on the doorknob with the other. And you open that door. What's going through your head at that moment?
I don't remember. My mind was pretty much blank.
Where did you get the hammer?
I got it from our garage.
Did you go out to the garage to get it that night? And this was about 11 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah.
So where were you right before you went to the garage? Where were you when you made up your mind to do it?
I was in the living room.
Why kill her that night? Why not kill her a week earlier or a week later? Something made that night the night.
I had enough.
You had enough? Why that day?
I just thought it was a good time.
You remember opening the door, right? It wasn't locked?
It wasn't.
Did you stand there and look at her for a minute before you did it?
Yeah.
Did you say goodbye to her in your mind?
No.
And when you swung that hammer the first time, did you swing it hard?
Yes.
Did you swing from over your head?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was this a big swing from over your head? Did she make a noise?
I could just hear the hammer hitting her head.
And what did it sound like?
There was this wet thumping sound.
How long before you hit her the second time?
Just a few seconds.
Did you think she was already dead?
She woke up and she started seizing up.
Did she look at you?
I looked into her eyes, but she didn't look at me.
What do you think about this particular case? A disturbed young man fighting with mental demons, or just someone with a total capacity for evil and cold-blooded murder? Please leave your comments and feedback below. Remember to subscribe, share and like. Thank you for watching. One last favour, please do visit my Patreon page and help support me if you can. Thank you.
With